Good morning, America. Welcome to the first ever Reveal Morning Report. This is an extension to the Reveal Report that you get Monday through Friday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is where the coffee's strong, the puns are free range, and the news is served hot, with a side of common sense, of course. I am your host, John Wilson, and I'm here to bring you your daily dose of sanity in a world overdosing with headlines. Today's top story: the No Kings protest, because nothing screams down with the tyranny like demanding absolute control over everything. Courts, classrooms, elections, and even your morning syrup for your waffles. Just ask Aunt Jemima. The left says they don't want a king. They just want unlimited power without the crown. Let's break it down, with facts, fun, and maybe a few faith-flavored truth bombs. So these No King protesters hold up their signs and chant about liberty. Meanwhile, their political wish list reads like a royal decree. Pack the Supreme Court and federal courts until the bench looks like a Costco sample table. Eliminate the Electoral College, because when you can't win by the rules, just rewrite the rule book. Wage lawfare against a sitting president, turning the courtroom into a campaign office. Rewrite America's founding with the 1619 Project, then grade you on it with DEI and CRT. Partner with radical activist groups while calling everyone else extremist. Push economic socialism, which somehow always ends with everyone equally broke. Equity, man. Change election laws faster than you can say ballot harvesting. Add DC and Puerto Rico as states, not out of compassion, of course, but to pack the Senate tighter than a TSA line. Sanctuary city lawlessness, because who needs federal law when you got slogans? Nullify immigration laws, then shame you for noticing. Monopoly control of schools and universities, one ideology fits all at triple the tuition. And of course, massive bureaucracy, because when all else fails, form a committee. Friends, that's not democracy. That's designer authoritarianism. It's a Marxist meets fascist hybrid. Centralize power, control the narrative, punish opposition, and call it progress. It's no kings on the sign, but it's yes, your highness, in the fine print. Here's a quick refresher for the memory challenge. Remember Barack Obama? When even the media called him the Deporter-in-Chief for record numbers of removals? Back then, ICE agents were masked up, enforcing immigration law by the book, and the left applauded him. No outrage, no protest, no fascism hashtags. But under Trump, those same agents become villains overnight. Suddenly, masking up to enforce immigration law turned into tyranny, turned into the Gestapo, the fascists, the brown shirts, 1938 Germany. Because apparently masks are fine when worn by bureaucrats, but evil when worn by border agents under the wrong president. Really the only mask they believe in is the ones your kids have to wear during COVID-19. Then there's Antifa, the left's favorite invisible friend, burning cities one mostly peaceful protest at a time. The media covers for them like a PR firm for arsonists, pretending they don't exist while their black hooded fan club trashes downtown. Authoritarianism isn't when you enforce laws, it's when you weaponize power. And that's been the left's game for years. Use fear, shame, and cancellation to silence anyone who disagrees. That's not democracy. That's ideological monopoly. The moment someone mentions the Insurrection Act, the left swoons like Victorian poets near a fainting couch. But here's a little thing called history. 1957. Eisenhower sent the 101st Airborne to Little Rock to enforce school desegregation. 1962 and 1963. JFK enforced desegregation at Ole Miss and in Alabama. 1967. LBJ used it during the Detroit riots. 1989. George H.W. Bush used it in the U.S. Virgin Islands. 1992. Bush 41 again during the LA riots to restore order and protect lives. So when President Trump even mentions using it to stop chaos, they cry, "Dictator!" But when Democrats use it, courageous leadership they're called. The only thing consistent here is the inconsistency. Next stop, Trump derangement syndrome, where logic goes to die. Some media talking heads even suggested people get guns and be ready to use them on ICE agents. We would say Don Lemon, but he's not really worth mentioning. Excuse me though, weren't these the same folks who want to repeal the Second Amendment? Now suddenly they're 1776 reenactors? You can't claim to oppose gun ownership and then call for armed resistance against law enforcement. Makes a lot of sense, right? That's not consistency. That's cognitive CrossFit. Enforcing law isn't oppression. It's the government doing its job. But to the radical left, every boundary is a battlefield and every badge is a villain. And to make it even more crazy, only in New York City could you have these competing folks trying to become the mayor of New York City. Andrew killed grandma in the nursing home Cuomo, and Zoran Mamdani, an Islamic socialist who thinks rent control is a religion. Then Mamdani, in a debate, attacks Cuomo for not knowing where the city's mosques are, because apparently that's now a qualification test for mayor. After 9/11, who would have thought that 2 decades later, the debate in New York would be about who's more mosque fluent, not who's more competent. When symbolism replaces substance, you don't get leaders. You get liberal theater with a taxpayer cover charge. No kings? Sounds cute. But every bullet point they push screams, "We are the crown." They scream fascism while running the largest bureaucratic monarchy in modern politics. Sanctuary policies? They nullify federal law and then call you anti-democratic. College campuses? One-party echo chambers disguised as diversity. Bottom line? The left's anti-authoritarianism is just authoritarianism with better branding. They traded the crown for a clipboard, and they're still trying to rule your life. America doesn't need kings, it needs citizens. Men and women who think critically, pray boldly, and stand firm for liberty. Freedom works best when power stays limited, and that's exactly what makes America exceptional, which is exactly why we cannot afford to have any of the radical left in powerful positions. So as you sip that coffee, remember, it is true America does not need dictators. That is why we do not need the radical left. Because every fascist Marxist regime has no problem with lawlessness in the streets, so they can heat things up and lie to us at the top to flip the system inside out. Because the radical left does not like America. Therefore, we need to pray for the President of the United States. And we need to be thankful that he's trying to make America great again. Now, before we wrap up, we got a ton of exciting things happening across the Revealed Radio Network. Today at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time is the debut of Strength to Carry Through podcast with Kayla Skinner. Tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time is the debut of the Firm Foundation podcast with Austin Skinner. This Saturday brings 2 incredible new kids shows. Get in the Game with Jesus podcast with Levi Wilson and the Biblical American Kids podcast with Camden Wilson. Every morning at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, join us for a Revealed Bible reading to start your day grounded in the Word. And every evening at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, tune in for a nightly prayer over America and our official Revealed Radio Network sign-off. Also coming is the Revealed Kids Bedtime Stories, but not in audio form, but now in book form. It is scheduled to release October 31st, 2025 on Amazon. However, if you want a signed edition, email us at revealedpublications@gmail.com and we can give you the details on how to get your signed edition of the Revealed Kids Bedtime Stories in book form. It will also include never-before-heard stories. And mark your calendars. There's 2 new books launching from myself on November 1st, 2025. A Living Sacrifice, God's Blueprint for Real Revival, and Blessed and Broke, How America Lost God and Gained Debt, and How We Can Be Restored. Stay tuned for more exciting announcements, because this movement is just getting started. I'll see you later today at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for the regular Revealed Report. Well, that's your Revealed Morning Report for today. The news that wakes you up, the news that puts some sanity back into your heart and soul, and the news that's filled with a few puns along the way. I'm your host, John R. Wilson III, reminding you to stand firm, stay free, and keep your faith revealed. I love you, America. God bless you, and have a great day.